It's that time of the year when I thought it's time to make the Venus in the 12th house synastry video. And the time couldn't be any more appropriate because I am freshly out of a Venus in the 12th house breakup or whatever you call that. So I thought it's time to honestly make a video from the bottom of my heart when the feelings are raw and fresh about how this relationship works. So, if I have to start with a little bit of a backstory, all my relationships have been Venus in the 12th. So, most of my long lasting relationships in the romantic arena has been Venus in the 12th house. And there is a slight demarcation on how different these relationships were in my first half and how they are different in my second half. So, in order to begin with, in the first half of my life, most of my relationships had the person I was dating had my Venus in their 12th house. And in between, if there was a short term relationship, there was always a 12th house aspect to it. So you can easily understand that I am a 12th house person. But the reason I have this aspect in my romantic relationship is because there is a close aspect of the 12th house planet, of my 12th house planet in my house of intimacy. So it matters to me that I feel all the 12th house things in order to feel intimate with somebody. So my first half of my life was my Venus falling in their 12th house. So how was this? So how this relationship started? The relationships, both these relationships started with this weird story. So both these relationships led to really bad heartbreaks in my life. But what happened right before this relationship started is me being interested in somebody, they rejecting me, my ego getting in the way of it, and me immediately falling into a relationship with somebody else, but somebody else who's closer to this person who rejected me, because they kind of became from the same circle. So there was no it wasn't like I dated the other person and they rejected me and now I'm with another person. No, it wasn't like that. I was interested in one person, they led me on, things didn't work out, we move apart. I think in the first case I confess my feelings to this person and this person says, no, I think we are just friends. And that triggers my ego because I was like 15, okay, at the point of time. So getting rejected by a boy is like a big deal by that time. So I get triggered and immediately jump into another relationship just to trigger this person. So this is how both these relationships started. Although the scenarios are quite similar, the relationship dynamic of how the first relationship triggered me getting into this relationship, the 12th house relationship, is different. I don't know how people shoot videos without any air conditioning. I'm using a little bit of a fan. It's really humid where I live. So coming back to the 12th house relationship. So that's how the 12th house relationship starts. So it begins with me trying to be in a relationship with somebody else, but that not working out, me trying to get into another relationship to fill the gap. But this relationship becomes a very intense part of my life. So this is my real relationship technically, because this is the only relationship that's like lasted for a very long time. So the first relationship of mine, my first very boyfriend, we lasted for 1.5 years. And the second relationship lasted for 7 years. And that's quite a surprise for a 12th house relationship. So why do we get attracted to this 12th house person? So if you're into intense relationships, if you're into deep Piscean dreamy relationship, or if you had delusional aspects in your chart, like Venus opposite Neptune, Venus conjunct Neptune, your fifth house lord conjunct Neptune, fifth house lord being Neptune, you're going to get into a little bit of a delusional relationship. So why do I say these relationships are delusional? These relationships are delusional because what you see, what you get in the reality is quite different, because there's so much of Piscean energy in it. So when the Piscean energy in it is so intense, the reality is blurred. So when the reality is blurred, everything gets quite confusing in the relationship. But whatever holds you together might be a little bit of a Saturn aspect or whatever that is. So while the relationship goes on, um, there's almost a not so clear understanding of why you are still in this relationship. Because Venus in 12th house is a karmic aspect. It's not the most compatible aspect in romantic relationships. And moreover, when you, in early on in life, it's very, very difficult to take control of your relationships or take control of your emotions in a relationship, and it's not an easy aspect to handle. And the fact that I've handled both these relationships for more than 1 year itself by itself is quite surprising for me, because wow, I must have done something right there. And it's a hard to let go aspect. You would think there are a lot of breakups, patch ups, a lot of cheating around happening, but actually that doesn't happen. A lot of moving away and coming back, moving away and coming back does happen, but it's not like Uranus where there's a sudden rush of electricity and you're back together. The moment you get back with your Venus in 12th house person, your emotions are so high. You're just so glad you're back with this person. That's mostly the feeling. If at if you're experiencing it after you're 24 or 25, you're just mostly glad that you get to talk to this person. Then again, the same trauma start coming up, the same patterns start repeating, and you're like, why does this keep happening to me? Why am I not getting a grip on what the reality is something this relationship will be teaching you. So I think this was my relationship experience as the Venus person. So yes, as a Venus person, there's one main thing that I'm forgetting to say. The Venus person runs away from the house person all the time. Every time this person comes closer to the house person, there is some kind of a trigger. Um, a deep insecurity is felt. So since these insecurities are in your subconscious, it's very difficult for you to access it. So you keep running away, you keep running away. The more you run away, the more the house person wants you. The more you run away, the more the house person wants you. So you have to reach a point in the relationship where one of you stops chasing or one of you stops running. So one of the main aspects of this relationship is going to be a little bit of running and chasing, but the runner is usually the Venus person. The Venus person is running away because he's unsure about his feelings for the house person, and he's unsure on why his feelings are so deep for the house person. And it's not like everybody's gonna have a Pisces Venus, right? So I don't want to talk about my aspects, but I have a Gemini Venus, okay? So I'm a little bit of a commitment phobe overall. So running like comes natural to me. So I'm like running all the time, running from my problems, running from people, running from friendships, running from everything. So this was me in my Venus in my 12th house relationship, but I never cheated in any of this relationship. And funnily, I got cheated on. And in spite of all the running that I did, for some reason, I think I didn't provide the stability that my partners were looking for. So it was convenient for them to cheat on me with this aspect. Most often, these relationships end badly. And the reason it ends badly is because both of you are not spiritually grown. And most of the time, one of you is more spiritual than the other. So the spiritual growth in this relationship is so important that after a point, it gets so exhausting on understanding like where this relationship is going, simply with the fact that, I'm growing, are you growing? Like, are you as spiritually enlightened as me? Like, are we gonna keep playing catching up? So yes, so the vulnerability of the Venus person is extremely high in this relationship. The Venus person wants to trust the house person, but this person can't, because the house person has so much power over the Venus person, and no matter what, this power is going to get misused. And the Venus person knows it, because this is the reason why I'm not able to trust the house person. But not being able to let go is also a major part of the relationship. And That's why affairs happen and displacements for some of them. If since uh, not everybody is spiritual, and we live in such a materialistic world, and there is a little bit of noise. It's my AC. Um, so if you're not spiritual enough, this might just be a clandestine affair for you. But I don't think, once you're into Venus in 12th house relationships, you're only into Venus in 12th house relationship. Nothing else is fascinating. Try Venus in 5th house, boring. Try Venus in 6th house, oh my god, so much work. Try Venus in 11th house, where is the connection? Like, where is the connection, man? I don't feel it. So, yeah. So, I think that's how the Venus plays out when the Venus person comes in contact with the house person. So I think that's how the first half of this video was all about. So I'm going to talk about my second half of my life, which is the interesting part, hopefully, where somebody else's Venus fell into my 12th house. And I should be good at dealing with this, right? Because I'm the Venus person, so I know all about being the Venus person. I must be married to one right now. I must have ended up being in the most romantic escapade that I've ever experienced, since I've already mastered Venus in the 12th house. Or you would think, well, I have a Libra ascendant, meaning my Venus falls in Virgo. I mean, when the Venus person comes in contact with my 12th house, it's in Virgo. Debilitated Venus. Interesting. Yeah. So I always would like to talk about Venus in 12th house with specific placements. It's so different when you have like a Gemini Venus or a Cancer Venus and a Virgo Venus. You have to be with a person who's a Virgo Venus to understand how Virgo Venuses work. And my 12th house being in Virgo gives me a perfect understanding of how Venus in Virgos work. So my second half of my relationship cycle ended up being with my partner's Venus coming into my 12th house, which is Virgo. And I would like to introduce to you the fuckboy syndrome. So that's pretty much what it is going to be, I guess, when you have like a placement like this. You're like screwed. So as the 12th house person, jokes apart, you can deeply see through the psyche and subconscious of the Venus person. You have control over the Venus person. You have subconscious control over the Venus person. If you decide to trigger the Venus person, you will trigger the Venus person. It's like the Venus person is a puppet and the house person is a person holding the strings, and you're like, okay, move left and right. You can do that. That's the amount of power you'll have over the person. And that is why this aspect requires so much amount of spirituality, because there's so much possibility to misuse the power in this relationship. So you need to be very careful, because if you're spiritual enough, I am swearing by it, this is the most unconditional loving placement you will ever meet. If you're interested in deep romantic relationships, a relationship where there is a true connection and there is true intimacy, there is true deep understanding of each other's traumas, each other's problems, and a true intense sense of forgiving. The way the house person can forgive the Venus person is something I cannot even stress about, because I felt goosebumps when I said that, because that's how much the house person understands the Venus person. It's almost surprising on the house person that how easy he feels or how easy she feels to forgive the Venus person. And these are not issues where something tiny happened and it was easy to forgive. No, These are huge issues, huge betrayals, huge running away, huge disappearing acts, sometimes even cheating. And sometimes you tend to understand why the person does it, and your empathy levels are so high in this particular placement that you just forget them. So like I said, how deep is this aspect? So I would like to think my 12th house has a very deep, intense bond with this Venus, only because it's aspecting the Pisces house. Like mine is in Virgo, so basically my Venus is looking at the exalted house, right? So it's already having a Piscean aspect to it, so it becomes extremely Piscean. But it might not be the same case with everybody, because not everybody can forgive, not everybody can let go the way somebody who has strong Piscean or Piscean aspects or a deeper understanding of a 12th house connection can. And the Venus person will continue to take advantage of the house person. The house person is often let down, the house person is often not taken care of, the house person is not emotionally nurtured, there's no proper give and take, but the house person is ready to be used as a doormat, because the willingness to sacrifice to be in this relationship is extremely, extremely high. So I look happy doing this reading, but I'm actually coming from a very difficult place when I'm doing this video. It's important to understand who is more spiritual in this relationship, because when there is a spirituality mismatch, it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out, because the moment you start getting into a Venus in the 12th house relationship, especially with a Piscean aspect to it, you're going to start becoming more spiritual. You're going to learn the concept of detachment. You're going to learn the concept of why we are in a relationship, why codependency in relationships doesn't work, why it is not necessary to be codependent on somebody, why it is important to let go, why it is important to forgive, why it is important to make amends, why it is important to talk about deep-seated traumatic issues, and why karma is real, and why karmic relationships are very important for the growth of a human. So it's important for a human to experience a lot of karmic relationships. Only then will you grow. But the amount of karma that you create, or the amount of karma that you carry from your previous life, is what you are as a person, or what your chart is individually. So that's how I'm going to end this video right here. I'm sure I'll have a lot more to say, but I think I've said enough.